All right, so we have a empty, clean slate Jupyter notebook. Right now, there's a Python client that we've developed. It's not quite published yet, so what you aren't seeing here is that behind the scenes, I have a symlink to the development environment or the development directory that has that code in it. But once it's ready, it would be basically pip install Qri Python, I believe is what it's called. But we can start with just doing an import here, and it'll just use the symlink behind the scenes. If we run import query, we now have the ability to do things like query list. So this is the same as typing query list. Query.list in Python is the same as typing query list in command line, and we should get a nice little list of data sets that are currently in the repo. We had a little technical glitch trying to pull down data from cloud earlier. So with this demo, I'm just going to use a data set that I already have locally, which is the most famous data set of all, World Bank population, which is just a bunch of population figures for the world published by the World Bank. So what we can do, actually, first I'm going to import pandas because I didn't do that. Let's put pandas up here. And let's run that. Okay. So what we can do is I can say data set. Actually, let's give it a better name. Let's just say World Bank population equals query.get, and then we'll just type in the data set reference, which is B5/World Bank population. Okay, so this will set up. So it didn't log anything because we didn't write it down, but or we didn't choose to log. But we can actually say things like wbp.body, and that'll give us the data set body. So I'm going to go ahead and assign that to a data frame variable. So just call it df, which is a convention people like to use in Python or in pandas anyway. So let's hit run on that. And again, didn't log it, so let's just log it again by running df. So there's our body. So we can explore this and see 65 columns, 214 rows. So if I didn't have this locally, with another command in here, we would have been able to pull that down from Query Cloud, which is wonderful, and just be, have it ready to be worked with in Python or in Pandas as a data frame in just a couple of commands. No downloading CSVs, no putting them in the right directory. No, having to figure out how to get them imported properly and name their columns and things like that. That would have just worked. So now we've got the data frame in and we're ready to do some basic stuff on it. So let's say I want to just do get the top 15, get the top 15 by population. And I'm going to do that by year 2018. So if you look over here in the column, we've got year _ 2018, which is the last complete year of data. So I'm going to do that by saying new data frame called top 15. We're going to say df.sort, sort _ values. And then we tell sort values by equals the column name. So let's do year 2018. And we're going to say ascending equals false with a capital F because it's Python. And I'm going to then take the head of that for only the first 15 rows. And then let's log it by saying top 15. And now we've got 15 rows by 65 columns. And here's the year that we're interested in. So we can make a simple chart out of this. So I'm going to use plotly.express for that. So let's import that. And what we can do here is just say fig equals, and then this will say plotlyexpress.bar. We'll use top 15, which is the name of our truncated data frame that's just got the top 15 in it. We'll do x equals country _ name, and we'll say y equals the column name we want, which is year _ 2018. And if we just say fig.show, we should get a nice little bar chart. There it goes. Okay, so we can see India and China, as we would expect, are in the lead, followed by United States, Indonesia, and things that made the top 15 that I wasn't expecting are Vietnam, Egypt, Philippines, etc. But we get a nice sense of the curve and where the leaders are. And we can also do some nice things like fig.update. Let's add a little title to this, and then we'll finish the demo. Update _ layout. Let's see. And then we'll say title equals top 15 countries by total population 2018. And let's run that again, and we'll have a nice title in our chart. And there you have it. So other things we could do, actually, let me see if I can get that to work. If we have, so remember our data frame, sorry, our data set, not our data frame, but the data set was called WBP. So down here I can say, get the meta, get the query meta, and I can say wbp.meta. Let's see if that works. Oh, didn't work. Let's do meta.title. There it is. And we can say wbp.meta.description. And let's see what that gets us. There it is. So we can just call, any part of the meta or any of the other components that are built into query. So we're also going to be looking into a thing called preview, where we can just say query.preview, and it'll give us effectively the same information that's on query.cloud on a dataset page. Enough to get familiar with the dataset, understand its schema, see the first X number of rows, probably 50 or so, and then also check out the metadata. We can also do some interesting things with formatting this, because in Jupyter Notebooks, we can do HTML content, things like that, just like Plotly's doing with these charts. So the sky's the limit in terms of things, and we'd love to hear your ideas for what would be good and useful if you're a Python person that uses pandas. So I think that's my demo for now.
Woo! Delightful. It's great. Chris, do you mind stopping screen share? And we can maybe, oh, I love the piece of clap emojis. I haven't heard the clap, Zoom clap feature, whatever this is. Anybody have any questions on that?
That's super cool. That's the first time I've seen that in action, and I think it's super exciting. I have questions about like where we're trying to go from, like what the goals are for the Qri Python client. Are we also trying to save, add saving features and any of the other stuff that I know that we can do with Qri that may or may not make sense to pull into Jupyter? So just curious.
I think save is definitely on the to-do list. It's one of the things that we want to add next. It was in the older version, but has to be updated to work now. But yeah, that's definitely on the way. It's unclear if it'll become like a full replacement for the command line, but we definitely want to enable, I guess, kind of the most popular workflows that you would see in a Jupyter Notebook. That's the way I'm thinking about it.
Publish or push? What are we thinking?
Good question. I don't know.
I would think so.
I think so.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think it's a pretty reasonable, feasible user story to get someone else's data set, filter it down to the stuff I care about or my team cares about, and then push it right back up as a separate thing. So that can be done in a few lines of code, and I don't have to have Query Desktop and move files around or anything like that. I could just run some Python and then just fire it back up push it back up to cloud.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, deep agree. I think the other ones, the couple of, like, as Chris mentioned, when we actually can show the demo of add, where you can just like literally pull something down and immediately start working with it. That'll be a biggie. The other one I'm excited about is SQL. So you can literally just have query calculate some SQL for you, return a data set that is the result of that SQL execution on the query side. That SQL could include joining multiple data sets, right? So you could actually bake up a query that pulls together an SQL query that pulls together numerous data sets, have those be automatically fetched in the background because 099 now automatically fetches in the background, produce the results, and then generate that as a data frame, save that, and then have that, like do additional EDA on it, save that and publish that. I think the much harder of the two is actually saving, because you have to figure out the API for providing lots of arguments the way that, and I think it actually works better in Python than it does on the command line, where we have like, the way we kind of do it in the command line is we create numerous files that can constitute components of the data set. So we could make a file that's like the meta.json often, or you can make one big dataset.json file. But I think it's actually much easier to just do that all in a data frame environment. This is a nice side of things. Where this actually, I think, makes a wonderful transition into the conversation about APIs. So before we go there, anybody have any other questions on the Python demo?
I just wanted to ask, like, is there going to be a cloud first version of this in terms of like having a hosted Jupyter thingy, not have to set up my own?
That's I think that's the question of the hour, right? Because we have a number of folks who are using different hosted Jupyter environments where we would have to operate entirely, where Qri Core would have to be operating entirely over an API in a way that is backed entirely by an API, even if, and then that begs the question of, and I think that's the purpose of today's discussion is, okay, we have this great demo. And so, okay, officially transitioning over to the API discussion. And so I'm going to